If you were to ask someone who their favorite Dragon Ball character was, you'd probably get a couple different answers. Naturally, there's gonna be some Gokus and Vegetas, a couple Piccolos, and maybe even a few Bulmas if you're a real one. But for me, it's always been Son Gohan. I just love this little dude. So much so that I spent 30-some minutes talking about how much I love his character in Dragon Ball Z. And after spending all that time talking about Gohan's character arc, how it's a coming-of-age story where he not only realizes the importance of believing in himself, but sacrificing what he desires so he can protect what's truly important to him, I'd love to say that Dragon Ball Super did him justice. That when Toriyama decided to continue his legendary series, he at least tried to respect Gohan's character, his empathy, his growth, and his status as a fan-favorite character. But I won't, because that would be a lie. And I pride myself on honesty on this channel. And in 2015, along with the official release of Dragon Ball Super, we were stripped of the badass warrior who was out saving the galaxy while others his age were playing kickball. And we're instead given this washed up, out of practice green tracksuit wearing dweeb who can barely throw a punch and somehow made studying look like a bad life decision. Like, no way this is the same dude who took down Cell. But the worst part of all, every few arcs, the authors will try to do right by Gohan. Not for his sake, but for the fans, giving us a glimmer of hope, a flicker of the old Gohan, only for it to be quickly snuffed out by poor writing choices and a deep-seated mischaracterization, leaving us to mourn the boy he once was, as we're stuck watching the man he's sadly become. So now that we've taken the time to appreciate how beautifully crafted Gohan's character arc was in Z, it's time to talk about how Super took that all away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fall of Son Gohan. Now, quite some time has passed since Vegeta and Goku were able to muster up the strength to defeat the dastardly Kid Buu. 4 years, in fact. And despite all the time that's passed, it really looks like the lessons that Gohan had learned in the previous series have stuck. After realizing that as much as he doesn't enjoy it, he needs to be prepared to fight to protect the things he cares about, Gohan seems to have found a much healthier balance between his studies, his family, and preparing for the next possible threat to Earth, even after these 4 years of peace. He's a full-time scholar, as strong as ever, and he and Videl are married now with a cute little baby on the way. Our boy's been busy!
And in more ways than one, I see you, Gohan.
Sure, during this peaceful time, his abilities have more or less been reduced to a party trick. But I mean, to be fair, what are you gonna do with the ability to move at the speed of light and deflect bullets with a finger on a day-to-day basis?
I guess move at the speed of light and deflect bullets on a day-to-day basis.
Why does that kid have a gun? Gohan, do something! But the fact that he still wears his training gi underneath his nerd clothes is a good sign. It means he truly did learn his lesson after being too weak to defeat Bora. However, even with 4 years of training, he's still unable to hold a candle to Beerus the Destroyer. But in his defense, who could? No amount of training could have possibly prepared any of the Z fighters for Universe 7's God of Destruction. To be honest, when it comes to Battle of Gods, very few things about Gohan's character that were established in Z have been tarnished. Now, the key word here is very little, because unfortunately, Toriyama and Toyotaro's first major crime against Gohan stems from a single moment in this arc. And at least with this time, it wasn't even Gohan's fault. Now, this arc begins with Beerus, the God of Destruction, awakening after his 39-year-long sleep after dreaming of the legendary Super Saiyan God.
A tad bit blasphemous, but I'll allow it.
And seeing as nobody in the universe has ever been able to match his unbeatable strength, Beerus sets out in search of this fantastic rival. Naturally, his search first brings him to King Kai's planet, where he's currently training Son Goku, who, being an absolute idiot, challenges Beerus to a duel, concluding with Goku being knocked out of his Super Saiyan 3 transformation with only 2 casual blows. After bodying our spiky-haired goat, Beerus eventually makes his way to Earth, where he interrupts Bulma's 45th birthday party. And after being alerted of what happened by King Kai, Vegeta tries to pacify the Destroyer by allowing him to enjoy the festivities along with the rest of the gang. Oh, who taught him that? But the peace doesn't last for long, because pretty soon, Buu and Beerus' big asses get into a fight over the last pudding cup. And once Beerus shows that he's down to crash out over some food, Bulma's party turns into an all-out brawl, as he OHKOs almost all of the Z fighters with the greatest of ease, including our main man, Gohan. It seems like nobody's going to be able to reel in the Destroyer, right up until the birthday girl herself, in a fit of rage, slaps the Destroyer across the face. What part of her super genius mind told her to assault this literal deity after he just laid out several of her planet-destroying work buddies? I have no clue.
But Beerus is quick to show that he's a progressive antagonist, and these hand, paw, things are E for everyone.
Seeing his darling Bulma harmed in such a way throws Vegeta into a rage that shoots his power through the roof, allowing him to momentarily put the paws on Beerus, as well as taking a solid hit from the god, doing far more damage than both Ultimate Gohan and Super Saiyan 3 Goku combined.
Now, this moment of Vegeta momentarily surpassing Goku was clearly used to undo the end of his arc at the end of Dragon Ball Z, reawakening his desire to surpass his eternal rival, now with a much friendlier subtext. But I don't think y'all understand how damaging this single moment has been for Gohan's entire character.
Because up until this very second, emotional power boosts were Gohan's thing. And again, it wasn't him drawing on power that wasn't his. His anger was just a way for him to push past his timid nature and self-doubt, which was stopping him from utilizing his full strength. That's why when Old Kai unleashes his potential, those outbursts disappeared. He didn't need them anymore. His full power was already accessible. But Vegeta is straight up pulling strength from out of his ass. Part of the reason he had accepted Goku was the best was because Goku was stronger than him even before showing off his Super Saiyan 3 form, which quadruples his already superior power. This was a gap Vegeta could never hope to make up for, and so he had no choice but to accept the facts. But now, with his anger alone, Vegeta is getting a power boost that leaves Super Saiyan 3 in the dust, tanking a punch to the face when Goku was set flying with just a flick on the forehead, and damaging Beerus when Goku couldn't even touch him. Strength and speed that he just should not have in Super Saiyan 2. And after this moment, Rage Boost stopped being something exclusive to Gohan. Goku and Future Trunks getting their own power boost during their battles with Goku Black and Zamasu. And you'll quickly realize that once Rage Boost stopped being a Gohan thing and start being a Saiyan thing, it completely recontextualizes Goku's actions during the Cell games. Because before, he was just a father that saw the overwhelming strength hidden within his son, and put him in a situation where he could finally realize that power for himself. But if Rage Boosts are now a Saiyan thing, then Goku's just a guy who threw his 4th grader with anger issues into a pit with a literal super weapon and kinda just hope for the best. Crime against Gohan, number 1. The basis of Gohan's entire character, as well as his arc, has just been devalued and given to pretty much every Saiyan character for the sake of power creep. Fantastic. But whatever, on to the next arc. Resurrection F. No more than a year has passed since Beerus showed up looking for the Super Saiyan God. And after seeing the power boost the God ritual had given, Goku and Vegeta basically begged Beerus' angelic attendant Whis to train them in the utilization of God Ki. However, while they're off world trying to give this angel a knuckle sandwich, the remnants of the fan service force, the Frieza Force, have snuck onto Earth and used the Dragon Balls to revive their leader, Lord Frieza. And after just 4 months of training, he's back and stronger than ever. And to make matters even worse, Goku and Vegeta are still away from home when the Z-Fighters sense the Frieza Armada closing in.
And so when Frieza and his army finally make it to Earth, he's met with Team Hold 'Em Off Till Goku gets here.
Consisting of Piccolo, Master Roshi, whoever the hell this guy is, Krillin, Tien Shinhan, and of course, the MVP, the GOAT, the one, the only, the mighty, Son Gohan! Now, when people talk about how Dragon Ball Super failed Gohan, they're usually talking about this frail shell of a man behind me. And I gotta admit it, guys, yeah, this is by far the lowest of this dude's career. And I mean, sure, technically he's still the strongest fighter here, but it's really not all that much of a competition considering he's being compared to 2 dudes who low-key peaked during the Saiyan saga, some dude we just met 5 minutes ago, a slugman who hasn't been relevant in over 150 chapters, and a pedophile. But honestly, it's not even the fact that he stopped training again that bothers me the most. After all, he's got a lot on his plate now. He's got an infinite home to take care of, scholarly duties to attend to, and a little fine shit to please. That's a full-time job right there. And as much as Gohan fans want him to drop the books and focus on martial arts, I just don't agree. It's always been a key component to his character that would be unjust for them to ignore.
No, what really irritates me is that the Gohan we know and love would never allow himself to devolve into this twink! Not now more than ever!
Gohan has always been a family and friend-oriented character. His drive to protect those who can't protect themselves is only overshadowed by his determination to protect his loved ones. Time and time again, we've seen these motivations are what fuel his strength, and ignoring this key element of his character is just as much of a disservice as taking away his character-defining thirst for knowledge. But that's exactly what they've done by having Gohan no longer ready to defend the Earth from incoming threats like Frieza. Again, now he has a wife, a child, and an entire life he's built for himself on Earth. What more could he possibly need to motivate his pursuit for power, or at least stay in shape for situations like this? Crime against Gohan, number 2. Gohan is no longer the selfless hero we once knew. He's no longer willing to sacrifice his own desires to protect the Earth. He honestly couldn't care less if there's a threat he can't defend against. Look at this dude! He can barely turn Super Saiyan, let alone bring out his full potential with his ultimate form.
And his ultimate form! Don't even get me started on this dude's ultimate form. Okay. Dragon Ball Super, episode 88, let me catch you up to speed.
Roughly a year after Goku defeats Frieza again, the Tournament of Power is declared to start in 2 days' time. Now, pretty soon after Super starts, it's revealed that our universe isn't the only one out there. No, there are 12 in total, each with their own unique population of beautiful aliens. And ruling over them all is Grand Zeno, the childlike Omni King. And being the child that he is, Zeno decides to hold a 48-minute tournament in which each of the universes assemble a 10-man squad and fight until there's only one universe left standing. The winning universe will receive one wish without restriction, and naturally, the 11 losing universes will be permanently wiped from existence. So yeah, this tournament is kind of a big deal, and since Gohan has the ability to be top 5 in the verse whenever he wants to be, he's a shoo-in for Universe 7's team. The only problem is, he's still that scrawny, unprepared loser he was back when Frieza and his army attacked. That's right! After almost failing to protect Earth, watching what's basically his stepdad die in front of his eyes, and sacrificing his own body just so Goku and Vegeta could bail them out, Gohan didn't seem to get the memo about staying prepared for threats to Earth.
You know, the lesson that he spent the entirety of the Buu Saga learning? Right down the skibbity toilet. I'd like to formally apologize for that one.
And I consider this crime against Gohan number 3. In Z, Gohan was an incredibly dynamic character, constantly growing from a timid child into a confident, powerful hero. But now, he's been demoted to a static character that can't even regain character growth he was stripped of. But back to the plot. Gohan's not at all tournament ready, and so Piccolo, being his original mentor, decides to take him out in the rain and beat the dog shit out of him for old time's sake. And surprisingly, Gohan is motivated to train, saying that he's done with slacking and wants to be stronger than he's ever been. Y'all heard him right. Y'all heard him say that. He said it right here. Remember, he said that! However, after 2 long years of neglecting his training, Gohan has fallen into some bad habits, once again trying to rely on his emotions and drive to protect to tap into his hidden power, just like he did during the Cell games. But Piccolo is quick to shut that bull down. He tells him that this is an unreliable source of power, and that at his grown age, he needs to start finally putting in the work to actually get stronger. And what does Gohan do in response to this critique on his technique? He screams! He screams and he shouts and he lets it all out! And surprise, surprise, this little tantrum is exactly what he needs to reawaken his potential. You're too old to be doing all this, dude. You're 23. And Piccolo, what are you smiling about? He literally just did what you told him not to do. This irritates me because there is no reason Gohan should be able to regain this form in less than a day, let alone should he be able to go toe-to-toe with Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Kaioken times 10 Goku with his Buu Saga level form. And I say form because for some reason, an ability that once allowed him to utilize all his power in his base form is now being treated like a separate transformation. He out here growing bangs and shit. Like, bro, it's been like 6 years, your hairline's already receding. Let it go. But what makes me really mad is that they didn't even need to give the power back for him to be a valuable member of the team. Having Gohan fight without his ultimate form would have been a great opportunity to show him off as a more technical fighter. Someone who defeats opponents far stronger than him through strategy rather than brute force. Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, would fit the only educated person on this team of dinguses and meatheads. But no, they took the easy way out. And this is a prime example of what I hate about how they handled Gohan in Super. This day of training has taught us all, including Gohan, a very unfortunate lesson. A lesson that will be reinforced in this abomination of a movie we'll be covering in just a few short moments. That unlike everyone else around him, Gohan doesn't have to put the effort in to get stronger, no matter how many people tell him otherwise. Because no matter how little he trains, when the going gets tough, he can always fall back on his potential to bail himself out. After 2 years of wasting away in his office, becoming possibly weaker than he has ever been in just a day, Gohan is able to catch up to the power of Goku and Vegeta. 2 dudes who spent this same period of time fighting against deities and honing their abilities to the point of literal godhood. Ironically, this is the exact opposite of the message that Toriyama had set out to teach during Dragon Ball Z, that through enough perseverance, even someone who's considered a potential low-class warrior could surpass someone who is considered elite. But now, it almost feels like the series is saying, actually, sometimes you can't outwork raw talent, even after becoming a god. Not very inspiring, Toriyama. But with that being said, let's move on to what I consider the biggest crime against Gohan's character. The dirtiest, nastiest stain on his legacy. Dragon Ball Super Superhero. God, that title's a mouthful. Pause.
Cause it's my movie, my superhero movie. It's all about me, yeah, it's all about me. It's my movie, my superhero movie. They'll be lining up to see a movie all about me.
Now, when this movie first came out and I was seeing clips of it on YouTube and TikTok, I honestly thought it looked pretty cool. Actually, up until a couple months before writing this script, I was totally fine with this film's existence. I hadn't seen it, so I just figured it was an homage to the peak of Gohan's career in a more modern setting.
A way for him to relive his roots and finally bring that Z-era character development into Super, which I was all for. And then I watched the movie, and I gotta be real with y'all for a second, this movie's some bud. Now, I have nothing against the actual movie. Visually, this film is gorgeous. The CGI is beautifully done, which is a rare sight to see when it comes to anime. And for your average casual Dragon Ball fan, I'm sure it was a fun watch.
But me? I'm a dork who yells about anime online. Look at me! I bought a $70 Gohan gear I'm definitely wearing again. I'm probably the furthest thing from a casual Dragon Ball fan.
At first glance, this movie may just look like a fun, silly time. A way to finally give Gohan and Piccolo the spotlight they've deserved for so long. But in reality, it's really a way for Toriyama and Toyotarou to double down on these terrible lessons son Gohan has been learning throughout Dragon Ball Super. Alright, Dragon Ball Super, superhero. Should've just called it Dragon Ball Super, sit on your ass for months and study ants until it's time for your bi-yearly bullshit power-up hero. But I guess after saying it out loud, that's not much better, is it? This movie takes place roughly 2.5 years after the Tournament of Power. Gohan's daughter Pan is nearing the age of 4 and has been taken under the wing of Piccolo in hopes that he can help unlock her Saiyan potential. At this point, Piccolo is basically Pan's primary caretaker. Vidal's been increasingly busy with her combat sport class, and Gohan, as per usual, is much too invested in his research to make time for his own daughter, leaving Piccolo to often be the one watching over her. When Piccolo finally confronts Gohan on whether he's been preparing for the next world-ending threat like the rest of the Z Fighters, Gohan scoffs, asking if he really thinks something like that's gonna happen again. What? Keep in mind, this is after Raditz, Vegeta, Frieza, 2 different sets of androids, Cell, Babidi, Majin Buu, Beerus, Frieza again, Goku Black, and Moro, whoever that guy is, have all tried to wipe Earth off the map. And these are just the ones that have happened since his birth. Dude! You're 26! We already know Earth is a tractor beam for evil because Goku's dumbass lives here. So please, Gohan, please tell us which part of the top of your class, genius, entomologist, scholar brain of yours is telling you that Earth is gonna magically become sunshine and rainbows. Because whatever lobe is responsible for that thought process needs to be removed ASAP. Like, if you don't get your lazy ass up and do some crunches every once in a while, your baseline is demigod. Staying battle ready should not be an issue. But besides, even if something bad did come to Earth to kill them all, Goku and Vegeta would be here to handle it. This boy really doesn't learn. Nice kudo! I got something for you in like 36 minutes and 22 seconds. But this statement truly highlights what I mean by Gohan being a completely different character in Super. At this point, his character-defining drive to protect isn't just on the back burner, it's off the stove entirely. He couldn't care less if he was strong enough to protect his wife or even his own daughter. He has fully and selfishly cast that burden onto his father. But what's really odd is this isn't even coming from his old self-doubt issues anymore. No, now it's just pure laziness with a sprinkle of negligence served with a side salad of ignorance. What's up with all these food analogies? I really need to get something to eat after this. Whatever.
But almost as if this was a poorly written battle anime movie, later that very same day, Piccolo was attacked and almost killed by Gamma 2, an android designed by the Red Ribbon Army.
Now, while all the godly shenanigans have been keeping our heroes busy, Magenta, son of the original Red Ribbon Army commander, has been quietly rebuilding the organization's assets. And after enlisting the help of Dr. Hedo, grandson of the mind behind Cell, the Red Ribbon Army now has Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, 2 superhero-themed androids convinced they're fighting on the side of justice. And these guys are stupidly strong, just one of them being enough to throw hands with a post-Tournament of Power Piccolo. After nearly escaping with his life, Piccolo follows Gamma 2 back to the Red Ribbon Army base, where he discovers that not only are they planning to kidnap Pan on some Diddy shit, but they're also working on a new and improved Cell.
One that makes his predecessor look like a joke in comparison. And guess where Goku and Vegeta are doing all this? Go ahead, guess! Are you gonna guess, or...?
Bro, y'all are so lame! Whatever. They've been off on Beerus's planet training to further hone their demigod abilities for the past 3 weeks, and they're not coming home anytime soon. Y'all are f***ed. You're f***ed. You're f***ed. you're definitely f***ed. You might not be f***ed, but honestly, that can be arranged. But Piccolo, realizing that he'll need Gohan's help to defeat the Gammas, decides to assist the Red Ribbon Army in kidnapping his pupil's daughter, hoping that this would be the push to scare him straight. But when he shows up in his disguise to let the Hybrid Saiyan know what's going down, Gohan barely gives him or his partner the time of day. He just wants to get back to his research. That is, until they show the video of the captured Pan, and that's when Gohan starts tweaking. Bro knows Videl would have tore his ass up for letting their 4-year-old get snatched. In a rage-filled frenzy, Gohan commandeers the Red Ribbon Army spaceship, forcing them to spill the location of their hidden base. And once they land, he doesn't even stop to ask questions, blasting in at full speed to save his daughter before his wife gets home with those divorce papers. However, just before he's able to reach her, he's stopped by Gamma 1, who's able to overpower his base form with his incredible speed, insane durability, and infinite stamina. Even with Super Saiyan, Gohan can barely keep up, and Piccolo, seeing just how badly our boy is losing against these clankers, devises a plan to give Gohan the boost he needs to win this fight, using Pan's screams to remind Gohan what he's fighting for, and seeing his daughter in what he thinks is pain is enough to trigger his explosive anger, once again awakening his ultimate form. Ironically enough, this is exactly what Piccolo had tried to steer Gohan away from during their Tournament of Power training, relying on raw emotion and his drive to protect rather than his own strength to draw in his power. Not really a huge critique, I just kinda wanted to point out how they've completely gone back on everything when it comes to Gohan at this point. With Piccolo battling Gamma 2 with his brand new orange form and Gohan locked in against Gamma 1, Magenta rushes off to activate Cell Max before the Z Fighters can reveal to the Gammas who the bad guys in this fight really are. And upon activating the beast, it quickly hits him. This was a terrible idea. Cell Max's body was in tip-top fighting shape, but his mind was far from finished, leaving the beastly bioandroid to wreak senseless havoc on the Red Ribbon Army's base. But don't worry guys, it's fine. Goku and Vegeta are gonna handle it. I'm sorry. That was low-hanging fruit. But it's cool, y'all got that though! Even with the combined efforts of Ultimate Gohan, a giant orange Piccolo, the Gammas, Android 18, Krillin, and a morbidly obese Gotenks, Cell Max is just too damn strong. Gamma 2 sacrifices his life to land a critical blow to his weak spot, but even that's not enough. And so Piccolo decides to bet their victory on the strongest fighter there, Son Gohan. I'm sorry, but y'all are cooked. Piccolo pauses to remind Gohan that he has the potential to become the strongest warrior in the universe. And even though it's a little too late for him to get that training in, if he believes in himself, he should be able to draw in enough power to defeat Cell. And then after tossing him a quick senzu, Piccolo tells Gohan to charge up for his strongest attack while the others hold off Cell Max. But unfortunately, without the team's main powerhouses, they're not able to hold off Cell for long. And after only a few moments of fighting the monster one-on-one, Piccolo's knocked out cold, with only Gohan left standing. However, the combination of all the ki Gohan had gathered for his final attack, and the image of his limp mentor in the arms of Cell, causes Gohan to snap, just like he did all those years ago. Once again pushing him past the previously conceived limits of his power, manifesting as a brand new transformation. Beast Gohan.
No edit, I actually really don't like this.
This form gives Gohan the boost he needs to defeat Cell Max, effortlessly killing the mindless android with only 2 decisive blows. And after Gohan pulls this crazy transformation from literally out his ass, the Z Fighters get to live happily ever after. Sure, Gohan acknowledges that his laziness almost cost the lives of pretty much everyone he holds dear, but it all worked out in the end. Plus, he totally learned his lesson this time, so something like this won't ever happen again. Because we all know how that's gonna go. And then after all that, the movie just ends. Gohan and Piccolo have shiny new forms that put them on par with the likes of Goku and Vegeta's God forms, and the Z Fighters gained another powerful ally in Gamma 1, but that's honestly it.
Now again, I get what they were going for here. This movie's all about reiterating the lessons Gohan learned in Dragon Ball Z, and to do that, they replicated the events of the Cell Saga.
You've got 2 incredibly powerful androids, a seemingly unbeatable opponent in Cell, and his father, his main support system, not there to bail him out. The problem is that reiteration and replication have become the entire basis of Gohan's character now, to the point where these lessons that the story is setting out to teach him, for the 4th time mind you, would be better spent on a brick wall. And don't even get me started on Beast. Everything, from the design to the build-up, is a rehash of Teen Gohan's iconic Super Saiyan 2 moment. And this homage only serves to dilute what made Gohan's original arc so great. Now look, I'm not saying there isn't a way to have him fight a new Cell and unlock a new Super Saiyan 2 inspired form without cheapening his original arc. In theory, this is a fantastic idea that could have healed a lot of damage that Super had done to Gohan's character. But due to the lazy, predictable approach that Super storylines usually take, it was executed executed far worse than I could have ever imagined.
I can already hear some of y'all in the comment section.
SkittleTV, you're being a bit too harsh on this movie. And naturally, when you create a storyline that runs parallel to a previous character arc, things are gonna feel repetitive. Especially when you're trying to make things accessible to your younger viewers. And yes! And yes, that may be true, but that doesn't mean there aren't ways to build upon a character's established arc without completely regressing the character.
In fact, there's another animated movie out there that is able to do this perfectly, all while having a target audience arguably younger than Dragon Ball's.
Now before y'all riot,
I just want you to hear me out. Now, for those of you that didn't grow up as one of the weird kids, the Steven Universe movie takes place 2 years after the series finale, where the Crystal Gems successfully put an end to the 1,000-Year Gem War, the main conflict of the original series. And because of this, Earth, along with the entire galaxy, have been experiencing a harmonious time of peace. And at the center of it all is a now 16-year-old Steven Universe, who finally has full control over his gem powers, which up until now was his biggest problem during the series, besides, you know, the looming annihilation from the war. But naturally, that peace doesn't last long. Their happy little Steven Universe future is quickly interrupted with the arrival of a new mysterious gem named Spinel,
who clearly didn't get the peace across the universe memo.
And using her rubber hose ability, she strikes the crystal gems with her weapon, the Rejuvenator, which is basically a factory reset button, completely wiping all their memories and all their character development. Honestly, maybe that's what happened to Gohan.
Steven gets hit with the weapon as well, but since his human father just can't seem to keep his hands off giant alien women, our boy gets to keep his memories. Instead, the weapon only messes with his gem half,
causing his powers to be just as unreliable as they were in Season 1. The entire plot of the movie centers around trying to recreate the scenarios that shaped the gems into who they are, in an effort to rebuild their identities before Spinel's injector can shoot the world full of its evil, toxic fluids. At the end of the movie, Steven, still with his faulty powers, attempts to fight Spinel and get her to turn off the injector. But without his abilities, he's quickly defeated. And it's not until this scene that Steven finally realizes why he hasn't returned to normal like the others. After years of trauma, constantly fighting corrupted gem monsters, battling intergalactic threats, and living in his father's musty Gooner van, the life he had always wanted, the change he had always fought for, had finally arrived, and because of that, he wanted to live in this world forever. It's not until this fight that Steven is reminded just how important change and growth is, even when things are going your way. Happily ever after isn't something that happens outside of fairy tales, and that's not a bad thing. The hardships are what make us stronger and allow us to appreciate our times of peace, and him desperately clinging to this peace as well as being complacent with their fairy tale ending had made him forget that. And it's not until he accepts that change should still be strived for even when things are perfect that his powers finally return, allowing him to thwart Spinel and save the world. It's an absolutely beautiful movie and a celebration of Steven and his friends' character arcs, not just a repeat of them. And that's exactly what superheroes should have been for Gohan. Instead of the classic, oh no, we got rusty, but then he got mad and now he's strong again story, they should have used this movie to once again build upon his character. Let him reflect on his growth, his past, his failures, and who he wants to be moving forward. And like, it really wouldn't take much to make this movie work. With just a few smart creative tweaks, they could have made this movie something really special, just like the Steven Universe movie. Start Gohan off as the confident fighter he was at the beginning of Super. Let us see him continue training after the Tournament of Power while balancing his scholarly duties. Then pit him against the Gammas or a partially finished Cell Max alone. But let him lose, and let that loss shake his confidence and set him back just a bit. Maybe even have him return to that pre-Cell Games Gohan who feels that his father is the only one capable of saving the day. You can even still have that same all-out final battle against Cell Max, but have the fight focus on Gohan remembering how far he's come since the Cell Games or even Super's earlier arcs. Reclaiming his strength, not relearning a lesson. In fact, this is Dragon Ball! This is an anime for 14-year-old boys about karate, aliens, and magic balls. It doesn't even have to be that deep. Shoot, make that purple guy from Xenoverse canon and have him lock away Gohan's power like he does in the games or something. Honestly, anything would have been better than the lazy, rusty Gohan plotline. At least then, Beast would feel like a reward for overcoming a new obstacle, not just a way to bail him out after once again failing to learn this lesson. But that's not what they did, because they chose to regress Gohan again just so they could give him a brand spanking new form as a reward for once again refusing to grow. Like, I know this franchise is filled to the brim with ass-pull transformations, but Gohan really doesn't deserve this one. Because Beast isn't the manifestation of Gohan's growth over the years like the movie wants you to believe. No, Beast is the manifestation of everything wrong with Gohan in Dragon Ball Super. It's his reward for ignoring every life lesson thrown at him over and over and over again. His reward for continuously falling into the same old habits in the most selfish and inconsiderate ways possible. Beast is not a celebration of Gohan's growth because he hasn't made any. Beast is just Toriyama and Toyotaru waving their arms and yelling, "Look everyone, Gohan's cool again." And I'm honestly sick of it. This Gohan isn't the same Gohan that I grew up loving and looking up to, because the Gohan in Dragon Ball Super isn't a superhero. Not to his family, not to Earth, not even to his own daughter. He's a coward. A bratty, wimpy man-child who hasn't moved on from his childhood anger issues and would much rather study bugs in his room than prepare to protect the Earth, let alone spend time with his own daughter. And worst of all, you're a terrible father, Gohan. Ironically, you've become everything that the fandom has made Goku out to be for the past 30 plus years. A man who puts his passion over the safety of his child. You're so absorbed by your own world, you allow yourself to put your daughter in danger. At least when Goku did it, it was to save the planet. To save you. That's why I call you selfish, Gohan. I can't believe that after everything, after rooting for you for all these years, this is what you allowed yourself to turn into. And yeah, I know that might be a bit harsh, but it's only because I care. I still care. Gohan was my favorite character when I was sneaking behind my mom's back to watch Z-Kai on Nicktoons. And as someone who's always struggled with my confidence and believing in myself, I felt seen, and his arc was inspiring even back then. And I know he's the reason a lot of you guys fell in love with Dragon Ball too. So watching how far he's fallen just hurts in a way that's honestly really hard to put into words. Alright, maybe I'm being a bit of a drama queen. But it's really disappointing to see how much Gohan's character's been retconned and misconstrued to give other characters the spotlight he rightfully deserves. That being said, with the passing of Akira Toriyama back in March of 2024, his co-writer and apprentice Toyotaru has finally fully taken on the mantle of Dragon Ball Super's mangaka. And while his death is truly one of the saddest moments in the anime community's history, I genuinely hope full creative control will allow Toyotaru to take the story in a bold new direction, and maybe even heal the damage that's been done to Gohan over the past couple years. And who knows, maybe Beast Gohan can be a brand new start for our favorite little half-breed, but I guess only time will tell. And that's really all I have to say about Gohan. The rise, the fall, and the complete emotional roller coaster his character's been through. I really hope you guys enjoyed this series of videos as much as I enjoyed making them. And hey, we only have one more arc before we've officially talked about every arc in Dragon Ball Z. Except GT, but to be honest, I'm gonna need a 3-day stay in the time chamber before I'm willing to tackle that monster. And since I don't want to just be that Dragon Ball guy in your recommended feed, I'll be talking about some other stuff before we circle back to the Buu Saga. So if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and set notifications to all. I don't post that often considering these videos take forever to edit, but when I do, it's either a new video essay or something that makes my friends and loved ones question why they associate themselves with me. Like me placing the entire Smash Bros roster on how likely I would fuck them. And yes, I still stand by those choices. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.